Please welcome Charisa Munroe and Phylicia Fant to the stage.
So it's me and you.
Hey, girl.
So I'm going to start. And you gave a really, really good presentation of where you come from. And we were able to hear her journey from the bottom as a peon to now where she is. And so, you know, real quick, how do you continue to grow and evolve? You mentioned that we should evolve. How do you continue to grow? How do you continue to just grow and evolve in your work professionally and even personally?
You have to continue to grow and evolve, and I think that's through research. Like I said, every artist that I work is different, and they're human beings. And I think a lot of times, you know, you deal with the criticism. Well, I see the artists deal with the criticism on social media and how they react to that. So part of growth is researching how people are embracing these artists, how they are finding these artists, how they are relating to these artists. So whether it's SoundCloud, whether it's Spotify, whether, like I said, it's Twitter, Instagram, I'm constantly looking to see how people are digesting and ingesting these talents. I also find myself being out a lot, and I think that, you know, as a publicist, that sounds like something you're supposed to do, but it can be exhausting at the same time. But I research culture. You have to understand what people are requesting. To truly brand your artist, to truly be a part of the conversation, you have to make yourself a part of the conversation. So I'm constantly a student of my surroundings. So whether it's, you know, now knowing that, you know, I have a fellow friend in Mr. Hammond, I'm gonna probably see, you know, what artist might be into seasoning, who wants to eat better, because it could be a platform that allows them to end up in Health Magazine or Shape Magazine. So everything for me becomes studying my environments, and the students that are around me are my friends. We should all be students. We should all be constantly ready to research and think of different ways to expand someone's brand. So brand expansion comes from constantly being a student of your environment and paying attention to the people that you meet.
And if you listen, she said, you know, now she has a friend in Chaz. Now she's going to see which artist. And this is what MEL is all about, networking. Us living off each other and feeding off each other and not being leeches and parasites, but we can help each other. So now she's going to help Chaz, and Chaz is now going to go from where he is now to a level 10, and she's going to help him do that. So that was awesome. So, you know, in the spirit of talking about balance, we know where you are professionally, we know how you are from a career standpoint, but I know there's a personal passion of yours. So can we just talk about that a little?
Personal passion, meaning?
There's a personal thing that you don't always talk about. And
Well,
I know they would like to hear a little bit about really and truly what it is that you focus on as well, in addition to your PR.
Well, personal passion is really my outside company. And I know that sounds like I'm still working, but as a publicist for the music business, which I've been doing for 17 years, what I really realized was that I didn't want to just focus on music. I get intrigued by other things because that helps fuel my growth. So I started doing PR for charities. I did PR for athletes. I do PR for producers. I do PR for people that inspire me, because I think if I can remain inspired, it helps elevate my brand. And I think that growing still goes with how I can push myself out of certain boundaries. So that's part of my passion, is my company. And then also writing TV and film. I really have always wanted to, and still claim that I will be a producer, executive producer, writer. So I study film, I study movies, I make sure that I'm in those rooms, because I do believe that if you want to get somewhere, you have to surround yourself with those people. So those are my passions outside of work, which I still think work can be a passion. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. I know that sounds taboo to say that your work is your passion, and I don't want you guys to think that working all the time is the only way to live, but I do think that it's okay to work on yourself. So I'm constantly working on myself to make sure that I'm not closing any doors around me. So anything that I really want to do or try, I pretty much go for it, in the midst of still balancing my day job. I think my constant job is how I can expand myself, because I don't want my only job and the only thing that describes me to be Warner Brothers Records. I don't want to live by someone else's brand. So I want to create my own brand in the process.
So how do you separate working for someone that you're a real big fan of on that level, and then also work for them or with them on a professional level. So I know a big fan of yours is Prince.
Yes.
It was Prince.
Was Prince.
And you work with him.
Prince is by far my favorite artist of all time, period, point blank, since I was a child. My room is purple. The name of my company was the Purple Agency. It was all about Prince. Looking at this purple, I feel like he just came here and said, I'm here because I love Prince. So when I was 27 years old, we were trying to sign him to Universal Records. And my president was like, look, I know that you go out a lot. I know that you go to the clubs. Prince is going to come in town, and we have to court him. So I was in charge of looking for clubs that Prince wanted to go to. And it's not because he wanted to dance or do whatever. It's just part of the dance to get Prince. He wanted to see what we would do to chase him. So that was part of it. We were chasing him around New York. His driver would be like, we're on our way here. You better be there. He wants Pepsi on the table. Be focused. And so I would go in and make sure the Pepsi was ready at all these tables because he wasn't drinking, just to, again, embody what Prince wanted. When I finally met him, it was at Saturday Night Live. I was standing because we were all like, is he going to come? Because when Prince comes into a room, he floats. Like, it's true. He floats. So I'm like, is he going to be on time? Where's Prince? And someone taps the back of my shoulder. He's like, hey, is everything ready? I'm like, oh my gosh. At this point, I'm shaking inside. Like, it's this nervous tremble because I'm like, the man is now in front of me. But to bring this story into closure, when you are around your fan, it's still business. I'm sorry, when you're around someone that you care about, it's still business. When you're around someone you look up to, it's still business. So I think what has had to happen is learning how to be professional in all these environments comes from knowing that this is your chance to create a relationship and also create a sensibility of trust. I still needed Prince to trust me. I need him to understand that, I am your publicist, even though I am your number one fan. I know every single song. I have all your albums. You're gonna have to trust me. And so part of balancing these relationships, because there's plenty of artists that I'm around all the time, is making sure that they trust me and they trust me wholeheartedly with their brand, and that they trust what I'm saying to them, that they trust the opportunity that I'm putting in front of them. And it doesn't matter how long someone has been in the business. Prince is someone who's been in the business since he was 17 years old. He paved the way for so many people to be authentic and be who they are. But there was still a level of understanding that in this moment, I have to take off my fan cap. I have to be an adult, and I have to do what I need to do to make sure that I develop trust, and that what I say and what I do and how I move is being watched, because he's watching me as well. He's watching me take out my phone because he doesn't want any phones around him, because he's like, are you recording me? Is something gonna happen? And that's true, because you deal with artists that have all these things around them. It's constant. They can't watch out for themselves, literally, at the same time. So any artist that I've been, around, from Common to, RZA to Rick Ross to any of these artists in every genre, trust is very important for them. And so the way I've been able to survive this industry is to understand that it's not about me in that moment. It's about the fact that this person who's not a product, who's not a bottle, who's not, water, and I'm saying this as I look at these things, this is a person with real emotion. So I need to understand that in this situation, I can't be a fan. I have to be a friend, I have to be a listener, and I have to be a confidant. And that has been the balance that you always have to have when you're in these situations. When you're at a nightclub with them, you are making sure that the wrong camera is not videotaping them. You really become their eyes, their ears, and that's a lot of pressure, but it's also in a lot of responsibility. But with that responsibility comes, a level of satisfaction in knowing that I was able to develop artist relationships and friendships with people that I never thought I would have the chance to even be in front of. And I think that's what continues to make me humble and excited every day, because these people really do become your friends in weird ways,
now,
professional ways.
It's funny she talks about trust, because trust isn't always comfortable. And so her and I got some time, you and I got some time to spend last night. Mm-hmm. And she did something, you did something to me that made me really uncomfortable. Okay. And I want you to explain to them what you explained to me. And no. It was a good uncomfortable. Let me finish. So,
oops, am I about to get kicked out? Okay.
We were talking about work. We were talking about ourselves to each other, and you and I were talking about what you do, and then you asked what I do, and then we also talk about what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And then she became the PR that she is. And she started asking me questions. And she started asking me questions about what I said I wanted to do. And I was answering them to the best of my ability, but I wasn't. But from a PR standpoint, from what she does, I was beating around the bush. And so then she stopped me in my tracks immediately, and she was like, "No, you got to do this, and this is what you're going to do." And I'm like, "Okay." Well, that just shut me down. But then she also explained why, and her why made all the sense in the world. And so now I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly how I'm going to re-strategize what I want to do, and it actually makes sense. So I want you to explain to them exactly what you told me as far as, so we were talking about me building my own brand and what that looks like and how successful that can be, but you have to start at a certain point. And as uncomfortable as I was, it was perfect. It was very good for me to be uncomfortable because it actually helped and made me stronger in that instant. So just briefly talk about what you said to me.
Now that I know we're still friends, it was, I think she's talking about the elevator pitch conversation
Yes.
that we had. Because even as we talk here, you go around the bush because you're trying to figure out all the different ways to say what you really want to say. But what happens and what we encourage artists to do, and I have to bring it back to my profession so you understand what I'm saying is, what are you going to say in this elevator pitch? If you get 1 minute to talk to someone, how are you going to identify who and what you are and what you want them to take home? So when I am pitching and I'm on the phone, this writer, this producer gets hundreds of calls a day for the same slot. So this magazine has one page that's going to identify new artists. The TV shows have 3 slots per week for a music artist to perform. So if I'm going to convince them that my artist is worthy of their time, worthy of their dollar, worthy of their investment, I have to be able to give the elevator pitch. So I think when you guys are networking and you guys are identifying and meeting people, really figure out what you want to say. And understand it's not about that person being rude to you, it's not about that person not wanting to spend time with you, but that person has limited time too. So it's really important to drill down on what facts and what things make you exciting and what things make you unique. We know that Charisa is someone that's empowering people. Charisa is someone who, cares about health and wealth and, spirituality and all these things. But what is the defining pitch that she's going to give when she decides that she's ready to be on more television shows and more magazines? And what is she going to tell me? Because I am her storyteller. So why I keep saying about the trust in the conversation is I would become her storyteller because just like her brother was pitching investment, I'm sure I'm going to be her publicist. So as her publicist, what do you want me to say? What, as your medium, do you want these people to really connect to? And why are we going to be successful? Because if you don't connect on a personal level, if you don't get to the core of who you are when you're communicating with people, they won't trust you. And most of this is about trust. I do not know what he's putting in his seasonings. I really don't know, and he's not going to tell us because all he said was it's low in sodium. But we don't know what's actually in that bottle. But trust, communication, pitch, authenticity, all these things make us say we're going to go outside and buy this bottle of seasoning, okay? So if I'm going to continue to want to be empowered by you and learn how to get balanced, which I want to do, and help me get balanced, I need to know quickly, professionally, and honestly who you are. And you can't be afraid of telling people who you are, okay? And I think that's the biggest thing with artists. Like, you're only going to succeed if you're really, 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 really willing to tell people who you are at the core. And if you can do that, I really think nothing can stop you.
So, yes, that is exactly what I walked away with last night. And so I was empowered by her. And so I know you guys may have questions, so I want to open up the floor for questions for either of us.
Don't be shy, because we're shy too up here. Okay.
How you doing? My name is James.
Hi, James.
I was curious about the Evander Holyfield and when you worked there. Can you tell us one of your more memorable stories or one of the challenges you had putting together events at that huge location?
again, I was working with my big sister who's in the audience, and I guess she won't let me identify her, but she's in the front row. So at the time, like I said, I didn't have a job. I had the degree, I didn't have a job, and she just wanted me to calm down. And she let me work with her. It wasn't so much working with him. Of course, again, it goes back to what I said. I'm a fan of boxing. He's a local legend, he's a star. But again, it's how do you handle yourself in these environments? We're on this man's property. We're in his home. We're seeing what's going on with him. So it's a level of trust that he has for my big sister, Shaquita, that allowed him to say she can bring someone else in to help you. But what it did was just fuel the passions, and she made sure that I was working on things that still connected to my bigger purpose, which was to do events and PR and marketing for the entertainment industry. So it was a short stint. It wasn't something long, but to what I was saying earlier, it's knowing that your environments can lead you places. And when you get these opportunities, respect the people that bring you to the room. I think a lot of people get excited because they're like, oh, I'm finally in the door, but don't forget the person that brought you in the door. There's a certain respect that comes from that. So what I'm not gonna do is disrespect someone who's looking out for me just because I'm looking for an opportunity. And I think that's something to stay loyal to the people that take care of you.
I'm Catherine from
Hi, Catherine.
Montreal. Bear with my English because I'm French. I have a question for you. First of all, thanks a lot for your sharing all your wisdom. And I don't know about anyone in that room, but you're talking with me. Actually, I'm transitioning from being like an administrator to building my brand because I really want to be a speaker. I know that I have a word for people, and I'm really like a sporty girl, and for example, you see me wearing heels, but my clothes are more full with sneakers and heels. And like people trying to tell me, you should wear more heels now or whatever. I like trying to change who I am in sort of way, but whatever. My question is, what would you tell me, two pieces of advices or whatever to build my branding? I mean, what should I do?
Okay, I think we have to step back in two parts. Because the first thing, and I'm going to say this again, is be authentic. Someone can't tell you who to be. Because the minute you start being something else, you're not going to be who you want to be. Okay? So I'm going back to what my boss told me because she was nervous about my look. She was nervous that I wouldn't take my job seriously because I wasn't down to wear the suit to work because she wore the suit. She wore the suit because she wasn't comfortable with her body image and her size. Be careful what people say to you because of their own uncomfortabilities, okay? Don't let people's insecurities be a part of your insecurities. Make sure the person that's communicating to you is someone that you trust and believe in. You know, just because someone's your boss, just because you're reporting to them doesn't mean they have your best interest in mind, okay? Get that opinion from your friends, people that you trust, and always remember to look to them for your advice. If you have something that's sporty, then let that be your brand and figure out how to identify that as your script. You know, if you're the sporty speaker, I don't know, because you haven't told me what you want to speak about, but if you're the sporty speaker, figure out what that hashtag means. And I say hashtag in the sense that that's how you're going to brand yourself throughout your process. You know, so put down what you want to speak about, and then put down a list of who you are. I say 2 columns, like this is who I am, this is what I want to speak about, and figure out how those 2 things kind of come together. I think to truly answer your question, I need to know what your expertise is and what you're speaking to.
Well, because I had a lot of debt before because when I tried to build my company. I was in debt at 27 from like 80,000. I managed to pay it. I mean, thank God. God gave me like some creative ideas, like legal ones. And so now I have lots of people coming to ask me questions about how to succeed financially or relationship to, whatever. I'm single, but I'm like happy. So it's weird for some people, like to be happy when they're single. So I'm like,
no, because you're loving yourself. I'm single. Don't say that.
No. I mean, for me, it's not weird, but for other people. So I want to talk about how to succeed financially and relationships, you know? And for people to, I mean, I feel like people see me as a really credible. Sorry, my translator is there. She's not my translator. But I'm like, they tell me if I wear, like, I don't know, sneakers, maybe they won't see me as credible or as like wearing heels. First question my best friend asked me, do you have your Yeezy or heels? I'm like, okay, I'm wearing heels to come to go to
But sneakers are fashionable, heels are fashionable. Again, it's comfort. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you want to tell people that they can be debt-free, you know?
Yes.
So figuring out how to tell people to be debt-free and to be fashionably in style is okay, you know? And I think that the best thing to do is tell people you can, I don't know if you see the little things in magazines that are like, get it for less and have the same look. That should kind of be your same thought process. Like, you can still have the same look, but not break your bank account, you know? And I think the more tips you give people on how to create balance, learn how to make sure they're not overspending, but still accomplish, that's it. So the more ideas you give people on how to achieve certain things, achieve looks, you know, how to save the right money to travel and experience, you know, things beyond this particular place of Montreal, the better. You know, I think it's all about identifying that. And if it's something that's colorful and unique, even better. You know, you're speaking to millennials, most likely. And millennials, you know, if anything, they take more risk than anybody. So taking risk and figuring out how to show people how to obtain the same things without breaking the bank is a great idea. And I think if you're going to do that through something visual and colorful, I keep going back to that thing in the back of all the, like, Us magazines, People magazines, where they really show, like, get the same look without the same price. That's something to revel in. You know, you don't have to break the bank to walk the walk or talk the talk. You know, it's all about carrying yourself with pride and confidence. And I think that's what I'm really trying to get to for you. If you continue to carry yourself with pride and confidence and figure out a way to connect to your core, your people, the people that are following you, then you're gonna be fine. Like, who's gonna follow you has to trust you. So don't do anything that people shouldn't trust, because if you don't trust yourself to be yourself, you won't win.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was the question.
Good afternoon. I'm Miles Jr. Everybody, yes. So my question, Phylicia, is I'm big on, like, you know, I plan a lot of things, and I wanted to know, what is your greatest fear? Like, what is the one thing you do, or when you're doing something, what is the thing that you fear the most, and how do you deal with that fear? How do you counter that emotion?
I think fear enters probably my life every day, because I still have someone else's career in my hands. And whenever I get to that place of doubt, or if I'm going to be able to accomplish this for someone, as taboo as it may sound, I was telling my specialist earlier, I really have gotten to the habit of talking out and praying about it, and then wondering why this fear is coming into my existence. And I think to combat fear, I remind myself of all the accomplishments I had before that. And I tell myself to talk myself through the experience of what it is I want to accomplish for them. So for me to combat fear, usually it's through planning something out and praying about it. You know, a lot of people will say, go get this. Like, you need to go get this magazine right now, get this television show. I've learned that I need to do things in my time. So to combat fear, I constantly tell myself, this is not about what someone's telling me right now in my ear. I understand what they want, what they need, what they desire, but it's up to me to execute it. And if I get forced into something, or I go too fast, to your point of the need to slow down, if I go too fast, I'm gonna miss something. I can't make mistakes when I have the weight of making sure someone breaks into this industry. I have to look at all the variables around me to make sure that I'm making the right decision. So to combat fear, I stopped listening to people in my head. I really block it out. You know, I put everything down. I stopped looking at my phone. I stopped taking phone calls. I really find a place of just turn off for a second and visualize what I want the outcome to be. And the more I do that with every project, the more I take time to visualize what I want out of something, that has been the way that I get fear out of my brain, because fear really is just allowing other people's insecurities to get in my head.
Hi, my name is Danielle.
Hi.
So I remember you speaking about how you went to school and you studied English. You wasn't sure where you wanted to go at that point. But now, based on your conversation and the things that you shared, it seems as though your vision or your purpose has become a little clearer. So what I want to know is, at what point did it become clear? Because you started off, you know what you didn't want to do, or you know where you didn't want to end up, but you wasn't sure where you were going, so it wasn't 100% clear. So I just want to know, like, at what point, how do you know when you're in the right, I guess, you're completely in your purpose, or it's come full circle? Like, at what point in your life did you know you were there?
I don't think I've even completely gotten there yet, but I think that I know that I'm in the right direction because it feels right. I think the only way to know you're in your purpose is if you do things that make you feel good when you go home at night. You know, when you don't have remorse for certain things. Living in your purpose is something I think never has a final answer to it. I still have different things I want to accomplish. There's still different, dreams. I think living your purpose is still not forgetting that you're able to dream until the last second. You know what I'm saying? Your last breath, you're able to dream and live through your purpose. So I think I have not necessarily, but I've come full circle in the sense that English news, because I thought I was going to be a news anchor, honestly. I was going to be Monica Kaufman or Barbara Walters and, all that. But I still in some way deliver news, and I still shape the news that people see, or what you might listen to. I probably knew you were going to listen to it 6 months before you did. So I'm very aware of the power I have as far as the media is concerned, or the power to shape a thought process, or shape people's ear to what they want to listen to or what they want to believe in or what they want to market. So I think the only thing I can say about my purpose is that since we all know it comes from above, and I have to really let him continue to guide my steps, I won't say I'm full circle, but I will say that it feels right. And so as long as it feels right, I'm going to keep doing it. And when it doesn't feel right, when I am knocked off balance or someone pushes me off, because trust me, there are people who want to push you all the time, you have to remember your foundation and who made you who you are. I have a great mother and father who told me I never have to listen to the word no, and I can respect people who respect me back. And I think that's really key to living your purpose. If you respect the people around you and they respect you, and if you really listen to that inner voice, and when people start to knock you off, as mentioned earlier, you're always going to stay on your purpose, even if you don't know what's at the end of the tunnel, But literally following the light and making sure that I stay on course, and that every decision I make is rooted in belief, and what's right keeps me on course. But I won't admit and say that I've truly found or completed my purpose for being here. This was a step out of my comfort zone today, because I have not stood in a circle and spoke for 20 minutes. I've been on plenty of panels, but everything is about what feels right. And so when I was offered this opportunity and I met the people involved, it felt right. So this, again, keeps me on my purpose to talk about how to empower people through their brands and how to make sure their brands come to fruition.
And Danielle, to that point, purpose is a discovery. And so we were born with a purpose, but it takes all of us to, however long it's going to take for us to discover what that is. Some it's going to take them, a couple of years. Some it's going to take them a lifetime. Some will be 50, 40 before they really discover it. It doesn't matter when. And so, once you discover, and then you try to figure out, so how do I know? It's very linked to your passions and your potential. And even that is going to take discovery. Over time, you're going to realize that, okay, one time I like this, but I'm really passionate about this. I do this, but I think about this all the time. And I can do this with my hands. I think about this all the time. I can do this with my, I'm a good speaker. It just depends on what you do. And, once you discover it, because at one point you're going to be doing things that's for you. You're going to be working to make money for you to take care of your bills. You're going to be doing a lot of things that you want to do. And then there's going to come a point when you start doing things that's going to be for others. That's when you know, that's the click. When you now no longer all about you, but you're all about that give back. You're all about, because whatever your purpose is should be for somebody else. It should not be for yourself. And that varies from person to person.
Agreed.
We have 24 more seconds.
Okay, last question. Make it count.
Okay, it's a two-part question. Firstly, can you give us like an example of, and you're speaking about elevator pitch, about maybe an elevator pitch that you have given or that you've given for your artists, your clients, or that someone else has given that kind of just blew you away. Secondly, I know, like for me, I know that I love music, like I know what I do, I know the projects that I'm working on, but sometimes I struggle with like giving that, elevator pitch, or like speaking to that person who I know can help me out or who I know is interested in what I'm interested in. Have you always kind of just been able to sell yourself, or like were you, for you, what am I trying to ask? Have you always just kind of been able to be how you are right now? Because you're like confident in everything you're saying, like you know what you're doing. Was it like that, or did you have to go through all those experiences to, get there?
I think you go through all the experiences. What Miles asked me earlier about fear is that when you're in these rooms and you are speaking in front of people who don't look like you, and you're trying to convince them that, this is something you should believe in, it takes a second. So I would say the best elevator pitch, and if we're going to be candid here, was when I'm in a room of all white men, and they're saying, Andra Day is not a star. Why are you so invested in her? And it's me taking a second and breathing and not getting upset and being fearless in that moment. I'm saying, because she's a star because I believe in her voice. I believe in her talent. I believe in the person that she is, and I believe in the way that she makes people react to her when she's in rooms that you haven't seen her in, And then when it's like, well, why don't you want to change her look? I'm not going to change her look because I believe that she speaks to a certain type of female who is trying to identify with this non-glam, non-overhyped, non-over-manicured, makeup, whatever you want to call it. This is who she wants to be, and there's a female that's searching for that. There's a slot. There's an opening for this female. So I go back to saying research develops your pitch. If I hadn't have seen a hole for Andra, a opening for her that made sense, and if I wasn't able to speak to that opening in that room, if I wasn't able to say that her headscarf does not speak to Aunt Jemima because someone said that, if I wasn't able to say, no, it's not Aunt Jemima, it's rockabilly culture because I researched it and I knew that she was from San Diego and that her idol was Lucille Ball, and everyone in San Diego wears sunglasses and eyeliner and headscarves to identify to this 50s throwback culture, I wouldn't have been able to shut him down. So elevator pitch, confidence, being fearless comes with researching what you believe in. So if you want people to believe in you, research yourself and come with the words, the confidence, the answers that can shut that person down as they start to engage you in questions that might go left of what you want them to understand. Because they're going to people are going to push you off something or make you think differently if they don't understand it. So your job when you're pitching me, when you're pitching the next person that you have a couple of minutes with, is to make sure you give them everything that's real about you, and anything that they might be able to throw you off with, that you have the correct answer and correct response. And it's almost interviewing yourself back and forth. I knew some of these questions were going to come up, I knew that complexion, hair, voice, all these things may come up, but I had to know that I didn't want her to be compared to just Aretha Franklin. I wanted her to be compared to Amy Winehouse because I knew that would open a box for her, that they wanted to, open a lane for her to keep her out of a box of just being this type of artist. If I could compare her to Amy Winehouse, if I could show them that she too was influenced by eyeliner and rockabilly culture and Beehive in this generation, then they could see this in a black female. And if they could see her as something other than that, then we would be successful. I hope that makes sense.
And then, also trust the process. It's going to take even me a process to get from blabbering on about what I want to do to now figuring out what I can say in 1 minute about what I would like my brand to look like or what I would want to be. And so she didn't just get here overnight. Remember we said that success is a journey. It doesn't happen in one day. And so trust whatever process and experiences you have to go through. Some she failed, some she succeeded at. But along the way, you're going to fail and you're going to succeed. Just do not stop. And just trust that, okay, I'm doing this process and eventually I'm going to succeed. Eventually I'm going to be able to do that elevator pitch in a minute and be like, okay, I understand what she's saying. So.
Because there's definitely not one door. Always remember that. There's just not one door. If this door closes, there's so many ways to get into this room. Like visually, you can see 3 different ways to get into this room. So you have to think about that. If someone says no to you, if someone says this is not going to work, figure out another way to get back into the room.
And that ends this MEL Talk with myself, Charisa, and Phylicia Fant.